Hello, and welcome to the Libri Labra Book Club. Today we're going to be talking about Dev1at3 by Kristoff, which is the second book in the Lifelike series. And I'm joined today by my husband, John, aka BookTubeHubby, and also by Tom, book club VIP member. And we're going to go through initial thoughts first, and then we're going to jump into spoiler territory. So if you haven't read it, go read it, come back. This video will exist for a while, as long as YouTube is around. And if you ever want to join us on camera to discuss the things we're discussing, then you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member at patreon.com/Libri Labra. And there's a few other perks, like getting a custom bookmark and being in a Facebook group where we talk about some of the media we're consuming, in addition to helping us select the books that we're going to be talking about throughout the year. All right, initial thoughts. I'm going to let you go first because I usually let you go first.
Okay. I don't know. I'm always interested in reading Kristoff books, so I just, I did go back to reread the first book to refresh myself, because there was a lot of information at the beginning of this that they were like, we're going to lay this all out for you, but it still didn't click for me. It's like, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And I was like, yeah, but there's a lot of other stuff I need to go back and look at. So
I'm jealous that you had the opportunity to go back and read the first book, because I remember that when I first read the first book, I was like, I need to reread this.
Yeah.
So I did read through the recap, but I felt the same way. I was like, okay, I kind of remember the characters. I sort of remember the world, but it wasn't like, I don't know, I wasn't fully understanding it. And I kind of feel the same way even reading this book. Like, I feel like there's so much in there that I know I'm not taking in all of it.
So going in, I knew I had to revisit the story. So it was a good refresher, and you definitely needed it.
Yeah.
I think you still do.
Tom, initial thoughts?
Just that we had old business to take care of, and since we read the first book, well, we know. I mean, that's the initial thoughts. Well, I read the first book.
Yeah, we're going into the next.
Yeah. If you're here for book 2, you kind of know what you're getting into, but
Did you do you feel the same way? Like, was the recap enough for you, or do you kind of feel like maybe you should have gone back and?
Oh, I did. I reread.
Oh, you reread the first book?
Yes, when I told you guys, I said I reread
it.
But you really don't have to, because it has a good synopsis.
Oh.
But like John said, there you can't cover like a 300-page novel in like 2 pages.
And yeah, So, okay, so I'm the only one that didn't reread it. All right.
Yeah. You have
so
failed.
Hopefully you guys can fill in my holes, I guess. But now we will jump into spoiler territory. So this is not necessarily a question, but it was just it's the story is hitting different now than it did when we read the first one.
How
so?
In the sense where, like, this is clearly like dystopian. They have these like religious people in the story that I feel like, I don't know, it's just reminiscent of how religion is trying to kind of take over a little bit right now. And it's just super dystopian. It felt very Mad Max-ish to me. And when I saw Mad Max, even though it wasn't necessarily things that were happening at the time, I remember feeling like that's our future. Like, that's what the future is going to look like if we don't deal with climate change, if we don't start fixing things. And like, I feel like we're still on that trajectory. And then with, the popularity of AI right now, and how we're dealing with how that's impacting climate change and like ethics and laws that we don't have. And I don't know, it just felt like scarier to read it now, I guess.
Get it?
Were you getting the same feelings? Like,
oh yeah, dude, we're 2 steps away from all of this happening. We're too close, to be honest. But yeah, I mean,
If you really want that feeling, read the parable of the sower and the parable of the talents.
Oh my god. I know it's on my TBR. I haven't
Yes.
I haven't
the
gotten
two
to it
books,
yet.
yes.
Like, yeah, I heard it was very
well,
kind
now
of
I'm curious.
it was very prophetic.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would put, I can't imagine the Handmaid's Tale and the Parable series not mentioned together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it's the same, essentially the same tale. One told by a white woman, another one told by a colored person of color. To me,
Interesting.
and it's a very different story. I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, back to Deviant.
Being as that you read the first book,
Mhm.
I don't know. I just feel like you have a better grasp on the story. You want to try to, or even Tom, because this was your pick. If you want to try to lead
I was
the
like,
discussion.
what do you mean? What are you telling? You're trying to ask me what questions?
No, they do talk about this throughout the book. So, there's a world where it's basically a corporate state. Three corporations rule: Gnosis, Biomass, and Daedalus. Daedalus being the electric, Biomass being biology, and Gnosis being the combination of the two. And Gnosis develops the lifelikes, which by definition, for example, if you ever watched the remake of Battlestar Galactica, it's like the new Cylons. They look exactly like humans. And of course, using Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, they essentially use the robots as slaves. And of course, eventually, what do they call it? I forget what the 3 tiers are. One's a Logica, but that's like the middle tier, and that's the higher tier.
There's the Logica, the Automata, and the Machina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
Machina
Logica.
is piloted.
Right.
Automata
is like automatic. It runs on
yeah.
code.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then the Logica.
Well, Logica is the top one.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have these who are essentially human. And they don't like, that they're being used as slaves. And so they have the most advanced series is the lifelike. That's the 100 series, of which like 12 are made, something like that. And for some reason, they were all given the names of angels.
Right.
Gabriel, Uriel, Michael, and all that.
Ezekiel.
And they eventually lead a revolt after Grace, the girlfriend of I can't remember the guy's name now. The one who leads the rebellion. Gabriel. Thank you. Yeah, Grace gets killed, and then that's what really starts the rebellion off. And the reason why is, and also too, Monroe. I can't remember her father's name. I know it has to do with Romanos.
Nicholas Monroe.
Yeah, Nicholas Monroe. Yeah, this is like essentially the Romanovs.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, Romanovs,
yeah. But he plants a virus in them that basically disables the 3 laws of robotics. So with that, he says, "Oh, I don't like my political opponents. You'll go kill them," and they do. And then they become conflicted about it. And then this starts this whole thing. It starts like the ball rolling till the point that they revolt and they kill the Monrovia. Yeah, now we got the confused. Yeah, become family.
They compared themselves to the actual family. You didn't make your other children go do these things. So we are
why
children to you now.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So.
I don't want to completely throw you off, but I did have a question about the angel names. Were there multiple fallen angels in like I don't know. I don't know if it's just something that appears in movies or if it's actually in the Bible, or like wasn't there like a group of angels that kind of were
Lucifer?
backing up Lucifer? Yeah. Or something like that.
Yeah, he'd have to. I mean, I don't think he would do that alone. Truly. But he's the most notable because he's the leader.
But I guess I was wondering if that's why he picked those names. Is there any correlation there? Am I just making connections where there's no?
I'd have to know more about angel names to tell you that.
Okay. I may have to.
I think Uriel may be like the angel of light. I know Azrael's the angel of death.
Who is Gabriel then? I thought Gabriel was the angel of death.
I think he's like the herald, so he's like Gabriel's horn. Is that
Which angel
is that a
is
thing? Yeah.
Gabriel?
I honestly don't know if they correspond. But the women, for example, have names like Grace and Faith and
Mercy. Yeah.
Mercy. Yeah. So it's not just angels.
Okay. It says he's an archangel.
Yeah.
So he was known as the messenger of God.
There you go. Oh, I was almost right.
Michael and Gabriel.
Yeah.
Michael is the angel of judgment.
Yeah, he's essentially the leader. Not in this book, but.
And then it says okay. I was like, is Gabriel a fallen angel? No, according to Christian tradition, he's not a fallen angel. But I'm curious. I'm curious because I feel like J. Kristoff doesn't just do things willy-nilly. So, and there was also, a lot of other media references that I was picking up on as I was reading it. But sorry, you can go back to what you were saying before.
Yeah. And essentially the family gets killed, except for Anna. And this is where I get a little bit hazy, because I know this is like the major spoiler, like the spoiler for book one.
Yeah.
It turns out Anna is actually a lifelike, and that the real Anna is somewhere like hidden out in the wasteland somewhere, because they get into the lifelikes try to get into the vault, and they said, oh hey, you need this actual passcode, like bio
identification unknown, because the first two markers worked, but the third, the blood sample did not work.
Right. And so I can't remember the computer system's name.
Myriad.
Myriad. Yeah. It says no can has. And so then that's where, and then once Eve learns that she has been made in Anna's image, she gets really ticked off and starts I'll call it the second revolution. Where they're going.
Realize that literally every single person lied to her,
right,
except Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of what brought her to his cause.
Mm-hmm.
To be like, okay, the truth of things, you're the only person that told me anything truthful, so that sucks.
And that brings us to essentially, from whatever else went on in between. There's also the robot fights in the kaiju robot fights in the
War Dome.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how we initially meet Eve, and her sidekick Lemon Fresh. And it's interesting because when book one ends, that was essentially Eve's book, and now here the second book is about Lemon Fresh.
Yep.
So makes me wonder who the third book's going to be about.
Yeah. So what was the name of the third book? If Lifelike is about, and then Deviant.
Wasn't it like True to Life or
True Life?
True Life.
Let's see.
So is it actually? Does Anna wake up?
Well, you have to read the.
Right. When does that come? Is it out?
No, it's out already.
It's long out. It's
yeah.
All right.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to get this done with, because it's been a while since we read the first book.
Sorry, Jay.
Let me take a look here. What are my tags here? We read this in 2015. There should be another one right now. Let me see.
Wait, what?
What?
No, I'm just. It says that I purchased this, and I'm wondering. It says I purchased this in 2021. So, do I have this ebook or?
We do appreciate the multiple references throughout.
One of the things, though, is that they are looking for deviants who apparently are genetically not by humans, but genetically modified by nature to be able to do extraordinary things. And
Right.
throughout the book, it's portrayed as though Anna is doing these things. Like her ability is to be able to shut down electronics within a radius of herself.
Right.
And one of the more minor spoilers, but still I think a major one, is that it's actually Lemon Fresh who is the deviant, not
Correct.
her, because she's the lifeline. And there's this brotherhood that says, "Oh no, we hate deviants. We're going to kill them all," and that's where part of the conflict of the story comes from book one. It extends into book two. So it's kind of like the dramatis personae. We also find out that Daedalus hires the hitman, the preacher, who I have to think now is modeled directly after Cad Bane after reading the second book.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah. And he supposedly gets taken off the board in book one, but lo and behold, here we are in book two, and he's back. This time allied with Eve's former boyfriend, Zeke. Thank you. And there's Cricket. Although one of the best moments from the first book was when Cricket, who was like in this tiny pint-sized body, gets put into that war mech.
The coyote.
So
Coyote.
yes, the Quixote. Yeah.
Since you guys have both read the first book, can you remind me who Riot Girl was?
That was
Her nickname.
her nickname that Lemon Fresh called
Eve?
Anna
Eve.
Eve. Yes, Eve.
Okay, all right. I was wondering if that was the case. I mean, so Eve is also a biblical name.
Yeah, that was explained too. That Silas gave her that name so it's because she was supposed to be the start, the actual culmination of the Lifelike series, better than all the rest because she actually acted human.
Mm-hmm. Well, they all did, but it's just that what was it that they didn't have the emotional maturity that you would expect a person of their age to have.
And they also Silas intended to make sure she was not aware that she was a lifelike.
Right.
So that the idea is that she eventually, just as lifelikes should have been to the beginning,
they should have been essentially
blended into society,
indistinguishable from like a human,
Correct.
other than like.
But
yeah, that's why Silas had put that optical thing in her, where her eye was, because her eye was trying to grow, but it wasn't.
There was a few of them,
because that's how they implanted the false memories.
And she never actually regenerated with that implant stuck in her face,
which is why she ended up taking it out.
Right. Which I think somebody knows that in the second book. And was it in the first book where they end up in the Kraken, or is that this book?
No, the first book was the Kraken.
Kraken, okay, that's right. And then we get introduced to biomass that way too.
Yeah,
in this book, biomass.
We have hunters, right?
Yeah, we have the hunter, which is much like the preacher. Although, yeah, I guess he was a Daedalus army person before that. So yeah, I guess it is comparable. So.
Well, like a lot of times, his books have maps in the front.
Mm-hmm.
And well, actually, let me see if it's in the ebook at all. No,
I imagine it would be.
No, I don't.
No,
see
not
a
in the
map
digital
here.
version. Well, maybe it might have been.
I mean, it might be if there was one,
right.
but I don't see one, so there probably wasn't one. Because I guess I'm just trying to figure out, because it's somewhere in our world. If they're talking about, you say.
Yeah, they're in the Dregs, which was the island of California that broke off of, and that's where they're talking about Arizona Bay.
Yeah,
the West Coast.
Okay, so then, but when they're talking about New Bethlehem and stuff
north or south, some area around the desert.
Are you saying it's still in California?
That's very possible. But I'm saying or Zona. I don't know. I don't know where they. I didn't keep track of which side of the default they were traveling on, to be honest.
Okay, I was just.
But they brought up the Zona Bay all the time.
There is a map in the digital version.
Really? Where?
Not in.
Just before the text. If you go to the table of contents, look for the.
Okay, I'll see.
Title page,
Oh, map.
copyright. There you go.
Yeah. 'Cause I
Wow.
remember seeing it. Yeah.
Deep.
Okay, yeah.
Deeper than we expected. Okay.
Yeah, that was okay.
All right. So yeah, so the idea is that this chunk of land just completely just fell off or broke off and sunk into the ocean, and all that's left are these little islands.
Yeah, it was likely in the wake of the shooting war that the three mega corporations had. That's how we got the glass, because they nuked it to collide.
Oh yeah. The glass.
Who did that?
One of the corporations nuked.
Yeah,
the
they
area.
had that nuclear conflict. That's why Babel is so irradiated.
No, Babel was from the first book.
Stealth one, yeah.
Yeah.
They did that on their own. That was the lifelikes.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
So,
New
it's just like,
Bethlehem's over there.
all right. So they're just reusing names. Los Diablos, Armada, and then Zona Bay, Kraken,
Mm-hmm.
and City Hive. So
City Hive would be the biomass technologies. Armada was Daedalus's, right?
I think so.
it's not
I
like
don't know if it was a stronghold like the city mass was, or the hive was.
is that like Texas?
Yeah. Where is it? Is Florida even left over there? We don't even
I
can't
don't
even
know.
tell.
I mean, we can't tell because this is like, yeah.
Interesting map. The good old you say. Appreciate all the. Was it you found Fight Club? There was Tool throughout the whole thing, right?
I want to know where you found Tool, or was that in the first one that you were?
The whole that map is a reference alone
Mm-hmm.
for Anima.
Is
that
the
not
epigraph?
accurate?
Hold on. What is the epigraph in this book? Because
Is that the one that was Learn to Swim?
I thought that was the first one.
Oh, okay. Tool's been coming up a lot for me lately.
I don't know who Thomas Searle is, but it says, "Turn a blind eye until the day we die. Maybe we've passed the point of no return. Maybe we just want to watch the world burn."
I don't recognize that. It's slightly familiar, but I don't.
Is Thomas Searle like another
No.
writer?
Don't know. But
We
that's what the
Yeah, I will.
that's what the lifelikes want to do. Burn the world out.
I feel like everybody wants to do that. I mean, everybody that's not me.
They're bent on killing all the humans and replacing them with lifelikes.
He was an English dramatist. If we're talking about the same person. Or unless he was a doctor, I don't know.
Well, at any rate.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Jay Kristoff does that anyway. Like, I will just be like reading his stuff, and I was like, that quote sounds familiar. It'll be from some pop culture thing. So he kind of regularly integrates stuff like that, probably.
But it's stuff we know about.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I'm saying? It's like stuff that we
that we're familiar with.
Yeah, versus it's just going right over our heads and like everybody else.
Well, I feel like when I'm writing, the same thing kind of happens. Like song lyrics will pop into my head. So I'm assuming he's just like us in the sense where he has relative recall, so that when he starts writing something that like triggers.
Oh, you mean ADHD? No,
whatever.
No, it's not the same. No, but yeah, I know what you mean.
And he's always like listening to rock and metal. So if the album inspired him to write this, I don't know. He was just like, I want to look for interviews now where he's talking about this. Because I've heard him. I've heard there has to be. He had to promote this when it was releasing. Yeah. So, I feel like I've heard him talk about Empire of the Vampire, about Illuminae, but I don't think I've ever heard him talk about this specific series.
I find it ironic and appreciative that he put that his characters had a swear jar in his own book, considering how articulate he is with his own swears, I'm sure he had to work very hard to not swear that
because
hard
it
in
was
this.
YA,
In this, it's because of its genre.
Maybe that was just like him being like, don't
Yeah,
curse.
yeah. He did it for himself while he was writing. Crap, swear jar.
I think in general, it just feels like a very, very full, very detailed story. There's a lot of characters, and they're a little bit hard to keep track of, I feel like.
I want it to be. I'm pretty sure maybe it might have been optioned at this point, but I want this series to be optioned. I want it to be, and I want to make sure his humor and that the director is actually, that some of that stuff is actually portrayed well, because I really think this would be an amazing movie or series. Like it would do really well in the on with that kind of media. So, but it has to be done right, and I really hope it's. I want to be involved somehow, but I know I can't. It's probably already in production if it's already going.
I think like it's kind of hard for me to even imagine this being adapted, mostly because I've seen character art and it's just very anime style, like almost like Final Fantasy-ish to me.
It'd be interesting,
like with just really big exaggerated weapons and like
that's a good. I didn't catch the Final Fantasy type vibe, but yeah, you're right. It kind of does a little. And it's my idea of what the description of Cricket might have been. Kind of seems a little like.
You guys keep saying Cricket had a little body. Like, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because for some reason I pictured Cricket originally as like a little bulldog.
Well, he was just a little like just a droid bot.
Droid?
Like he was just he was he was there to help and help keep her safe, but he wasn't really big and bad, and him being a small robot and watching her fight with all the other big robots, secretly wanted to be a big robot himself. So eventually Silas helped him with that dream, and he became a much bigger help as Paladin.
I wonder what Jay Kristoff's fascination with like Coliseum style fighting is, because that was definitely in Nevernight, and I feel like the battling here was also similar in that sense.
Just what humans
is that
all that's what we've
Roman
always
Empire.
done. Yeah. We're always thinking, let's put him in the ring, make him fight. No.
I want to see things hitting each other. We were time bandits, but no. Well, I think in Nevernight, if that with the Roman, theme meant with that, but as civilization, but this is like the Mad Max civilization, so it's like apparently it goes either way.
We're heading there too. We're multiple steps away from reality TV murdering each other. It's ridiculous.
That sounds like another book. That sounds like the book Trinity is reading right
Oh
now.
no!
Which
How
is
many of these dystopians are we gonna run towards?
Oh my god! Yeah, no. Why can't Chain Gang All Stars? I think it's called. That's what she's reading right now,
boy.
Which is like a reality TV show kind of fighting style Hunger Games thing happening in jail.
Oh god!
Yeah, she said it's pretty graphic, but also very self-aware. So I'm curious about that. But I wonder what why he made this YA.
My theory is that he had to make something YA so that people would stop sticking his other books in that spot. Nevernight is not YA. Stop putting it there.
Well, also too, if the life likes are that emotional maturity level, he'd want the main characters around that emotional maturity level too.
That's a good look.
That makes sense.
Because then that way it seems more balanced or more equal that way.
There's actually probably a really good way to put more drama around what's happening, it being in that genre better than an adult, like gritty, like I don't know. It's just
Mhm.
probably set the scene a little easier.
Do you think Lemon Fresh is gonna end up with a different name? Like why
As soon as
is
we figure out who
she,
she is.
yeah, something like that.
Well,
Like
yeah.
why yeah, I'm just like, why is she Lemon Fresh and everybody else has like an angel name?
Because
Like
she was found in a lemon fresh, like the cardboard box, essentially,
She was
like
not
for
quite
detergent.
the tempting apple. She was the sour
mm,
one.
okay.
But I think it was like lemon fresh detergent that she.
Oh
But
yeah,
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 she was
right,
found
right.
in
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
box.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember hearing about that.
yeah, that was the one surprising in the book for me was when the general reveals that no, I'm not actually not related to you. I just wanted to make you think that.
Dirty.
Yeah.
Dirty, dirty, dirty.
Humans are terrible.
I was,
Mhm.
I really was looking forward to that whole band being a nice, like, cool thing for Lemon. But then when Major One did, I was like, oh, really?
I saw a meme recently that was like a bunch of, robots, and there was like one human, and it looked like, the robots were taking over, they were killing the humans, and they came across one human, and they were like, no, this one said please and thank you. Like, this one was a nice human, and
Mhm.
I think about that all the time, and even my son who, um, he's very averse to technology, which is interesting because I've always been a technology enthusiast. I couldn't wait for virtual assistants and all these other things.
Mhm.
Every once in a while, I'll say something to Alexa, and he's like, "Mom," and it's like, "Don't be mean to the robots." I'll just be short or just spit out a command. It won't be so conversational, and he'll be like, "Don't do that. Make sure you say thank you."
No, bro.
Whatever the case is.
When we tell
But
Alexa to stop and she doesn't, we got a little. The anger is. We can. She can tell.
um, but I don't know. I'm just thinking of all these AI movies and stories and stuff
It's all
that
coming
we've
to a
seen.
head, and we're running straight towards it instead of taking any precaution. Nobody's
Mhm.
listening to Jeff Goldblum at all. It's not about the dinosaurs this time.
One way I think the universe, I guess, was enlarged by this book was Solomon saying, about gray areas. It's like, you're doing exactly what they say, but there's also malicious compliance in doing
Right, right,
exactly what
right.
they say
Yeah,
too,
yeah. I've seen them kind of.
which makes me wonder why he didn't do that when Lemon Fresh first came into this pharmacy to get the drugs. But that's another story. But
Interesting.
because if somebody tells you to stay silent, okay, I was silent. Now I can talk again. So you just say, you have to be very specific with your request.
Oh, yeah. I understood the how he dodged some of those,
Mm-hmm.
but your query about Solomon at the first meeting is interesting.
Yeah,
I have to revisit that as well. There's
because he was having none of
the
that.
reason is not hers. He wasn't listening to her at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, he had a job to do, and he was doing it, I guess.
His
Even though he
reasonings were
didn't,
different.
yeah, even though he didn't get his big musical number.
I love how that was shut down too. I would that would be another fun scene in a
Mhm.
visual media.
Yeah, that's like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and no singing. Yeah, if you remember that movie. Well, I thought the book was good. I mean, it continued the story, but it didn't really have anything major or new to say about the world, which is fine. But it didn't have like the big reveal like the first one did to me. So
You're right. I was very curious as to what kind of new information was going to send me into the next book. I think I missed it, or we're gonna have to go back and revisit it.
other than the fact that the preacher betrays them and puts them into Daedalus's hands.
Okay.
So,
Well, yeah, he takes them, and then the another hunter takes
Mhm.
Lemon. So
right.
I mean, I guess the whole thing with the corporations is also just very reminiscent too.
Oh, you mean like Google, Microsoft, and Apple
Mhm.
all fighting over the same technologies?
Well, they aim for the same target, but they're coming about it in different ways.
And they want it for a different reason.
Yeah.
What's the different reason?
Who?
Like, what's the different reason?
For which? So for,
You
for
just
them
said they
chasing
wanna-
Lemon would be one wants her to keep the other guy from getting her, and one wants her to hurt the other guy.
I mean, yeah, are they just looking at her as a weapon?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what Daedalus and Biomass is interested in. You know, Daedalus to prevent her from getting Biomass from getting her, and Biomass from developing, weaponizing that ability, essentially. However, as we learned, we can use it against biological creatures as well.
So I missed the part after when she snapped the major because he was gonna flip out, and Grim was in the room. Did she take both of them out?
I got the impression it was just him, that she had somehow, even after pages and pages of trying and failing, this is the time she succeeded. So, but I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go back because I didn't. Well, I wasn't sure if she killed Grim or not because
I didn't
he collapsed
think-
at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed like he was impacted, but I don't think he necessarily died.
Okay.
Right, right.
So, he was just a little, I don't know, slowed down in speaking, and like it was like a
An aftershock. Like
yeah,
it affected.
Yeah.
it affected him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got 10% of the blast, and dude got 100%. Who knows?
And one of them, I have to think this is a nod to the game, is the human portal gun.
A
Is
nod
that
to
Diesel's
what?
power?
What's that?
Was that Diesel's power? The one's just
Yeah,
so-
diesels. Yeah, to create the portals. Yeah, because
What do you ask?
that's exactly how portals work in
Yeah,
portal games.
He said a nod to
to the games,
To the games.
to more games,
To the
so-
games, yeah.
games.
Portal and Portal 2. Yeah, if you ever played them, oh, I know what this is.
That was unfortunately one of the games that used to make me really nauseous.
Yep.
I can see how that would happen because some of the puzzles they would have to put arrange the portals in such a way that you would keep falling and keep gaining
Oh.
speed.
And you'd have to change or like while falling,
Change
Yeah,
direction.
yes.
shoot it so that whenever you
So
fell through it, you came
nauseous,
back
so
out this
nauseous.
side.
Right,
yeah,
the proper side, yeah.
yeah, it was. I beat both of those games, and
That's
yes, they were very
crazy.
difficult, and yes, I got headaches, and they made me sick.
I just did the first one, but I just remember it was a really good game. But
They
yeah,
are amazing games.
yeah. So there's a multiplayer, I understand too.
Yep. The second one is a co-op
Yeah.
and difficult.
Right, I'm sure. But so we have these contingents of lifelikes who are supposedly human, but better than human, and then we have the humans who are developing their own powers. Is it from radiation? Maybe, probably. Who knows?
Did you say, is it from the radiation?
Yeah, is it from? I don't know. The
I
answer
think
seems to be yes, but you don't know.
I think they said something about
Don't get my water.
during the fight of the wars or whatever that we blew a bigger hole in the ozone and it started mutating everybody.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, because in Mad Max, they were
Yeah.
sort of. I mean, they didn't have like powers necessarily, but they were definitely mutating.
There are
in ways,
way
yeah.
too many stories about us nuking our own planet and mutating everything. And the fallout's going to be real. Oh, sorry, it's another one. I'll be right back. I had to run to the restroom.
Okay. So do you still have questions?
I mean, my question was going to be, is there a favorite character in this series so far for you?
I do like cricket, but there's so much like bickering. It's like the first few times it was funny. And
But
past
then
that, it's like, all right, yeah, let's get through it and move on. So yeah, Cricket was good. Who else? Lemon Fresh was good. I thought as well. Yeah, and, and she keeps mentioning, I'm only a sidekick. Well, guess what? Now you're not.
Mhm.
You have to stand on your own 2 feet. Which of course she does. So and they, uh, what is it? Kristoff makes it a point to let you know that that's from her days in the dregs. Yeah, and that's where she had met Eve in the first place. So
Do you have a favorite character in the series so far?
It's Lemon. It's Lemon.
mhm.
She's sour enough to smack you in your face. She'll get your attention. Like she'll stand up and she'll pop you if necessary. It's kind of I like it. Lemon kind of seems to be like the stand like that one character that kind of has an idea of who she is more than everybody else. So that's why she stands out a little more for me. And I guess it's kind of prudent right now. But I would. Did everybody answer that already?
Tom said Lemon.
Cricket.
Oh yeah, I like Cricket a lot. Yeah,
And,
just because of his underdog story.
I think I like Ezekiel.
Who what?
Ezekiel.
Well, yeah, I get that. I get that. I would also like to point out that the actual story itself, and a lot of things between it being like the religious, non-religious, the machines, non-machines. There's always some sort of duality at play, and with that is in itself is another reference to another Tool song. Like, and then the story itself, Lateralis, the idea of becoming human or being human, being having the awareness to be aware that we're human. And then Raiden 2 is a song about how humans will split everything in two, that we will divide everything and fight over it. So, I don't know. I think there's way too many Tool references. So thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
Lateralis a song or an
Yes.
album or both?
Both.
Okay.
Well, it's also too the notion of like for the machines, I love this person, but is it because I actually do love them, or is it because I was programmed to love them? And what's the difference, if any?
Aren't we all programmed to love in some way? God, what? Why?
There's a physical process, and that probably involves electricity and a few other things, chemicals, just like the robot. So it's like, at what point do you say, "Oh, this is good, but this is not it"? It's like I don't know how you draw that line. So I think it's a Turing test where it's like, you put in a series of inputs, and if the thing being tested answers like a human, then therefore it's human. So
I think we have to make new tests.
Do you think that like Ezekiel was necessarily questioning himself as much as like Eve was? I mean, obviously he wasn't doing the things that Eve was doing, but I'm saying, like, do you think they were experiencing similar experiences but with different results? Like Eve got really angry when she started processing that like people had lied to her, or and then she turned that anger outward and started doing stuff. I feel like Ezekiel was also like questioning like why he was thinking about Anna so much, or like the connection that he had with Eve immediately, even though he didn't know Eve that well.
Well,
like,
I mean, he fell in love with Anna. He didn't know Eve wasn't her until. That's a lot of. I'm sure that's very confusing for everybody.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out why their reflection on having been deceived manifested so differently. Obviously, Jay wrote the story, but like, I'm just trying to compare
Upbringing. trauma, previous trauma, whether or not it's been there, its effect on your decisions. That's so much, so too many variables. But I don't know. I think everybody does act a little differently. It might actually be a nod to the difference of making a copy of a copy. That they won't be the same thing. They're not going to be. So they actually get a different reaction as to what has happened. That's interesting.
Or do you think it's just in Ezekiel's code to be like a protector?
It could have been a thing. It could have been part of his personality, who he was modeled after. Which Monrova was he?
I don't even.
There wasn't 12 of them. There were 12 lifelikes. Why were there? The original 6 were modeled after the family. Was he one of them? Ezekiel. I have more questions now. I gotta go back and look. I got research to do now.
Yep. And of course, Ezekiel was the only one to remain loyal to the Monrovias. So.
Well, I mean, he was still in love with one who he thought was still alive, and then, but so are we saying he was not infected with the Libertas virus, right?
I would have to think so, but I.
So okay, so that's the reason why he really didn't. He wasn't dealing with the human issues because he couldn't murder them. Okay, makes sense.
But that's not. I don't think that's ever given as a reason why he didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I know.
Yeah, like I feel like there was, conscious decisions on his part.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think he might have been, and he hid it because he shot her on purpose. Like he did shoot her to make her not. I don't know.
But
maybe that was
like malicious.
Maybe that was part of it, but Cricket called him Murderbot a lot. So
Cricket called Ezekiel Murderbot a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe he was.
Well, I think that was mainly Murderbot was for lifelikes in general, of which he was one.
Interesting. God, so much lost in the details.
Hold on. Ezekiel was a prophet. I'm just not in the story, but in like the book. He lived in Babylon during the time of the destruction of the first temple.
Okay, all that makes sense.
What
time is it? It's 3.
It's 2:56.
Yeah.
And was Ezekiel? What was the question I was going to ask? Was Ezekiel infected by the virus? Would that have been in lifelike?
Yes.
I imagine it would. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're well beyond those events. You
could probably just say in the lifelike series and just cover the whole. Oh well, not if he ends up infected in the 3rd book and we don't know.
Oh, interesting. His aliases are in here. Known as Zeke, Brain Trauma, Stumpy, and Dimples.
Mm-hmm.
Cricket called him Stumpy.
Was one of the lifelikes. He lived with the Monroe family. He fell in love with Anna after the death of his brother Raphael. Gabriel infected his fellow lifelikes as well.
I think he infected all of them somehow.
All right. All right.
Am I tackling True Life, or are we waiting until we throw it back in the book club?
I mean, I assume Tom's gonna throw it back into at like some point to finish the series.
Well, it would make sense to do it as soon as possible.
Yeah, before we forget all the things.
Yeah.
But
let's throw a bunch of sequels up in the next month. Start finishing them.
I guess we can probably do final thoughts.
Probably a good idea. I gotta get rid of this headache.
Okay, final thoughts. Final thoughts. I feel like, again, there's just like a lot going on, and I didn't catch any Tool references other than the one reference in the beginning of Life.
I
And
listen
like
to
I
too
know,
much Tool. I can't.
well, I would love to be able to read it and find those. So, am I going to reread both books? I don't know, but I do want to reread the first one. Will I be able to get to it before we get to the third? I also don't know. But there's just so much going on, and with my ADHD, I really like things that have deeper meaning. So I don't mind reading a book and being like, wait, what does this connect to, or what does this mean, or what does this represent? And I feel like the story definitely prompts that. There are still a lot of characters, and it's a little bit difficult for me to keep track of everything. But I like that there's room for me to dig deeper, for better understanding and stuff. There is humor, it is irreverent, and I enjoyed it. I think I would give it 4 stars. I think maybe with a better understanding of its like true depth, maybe I would bump that up. But right now, I think I'm at a 4.
I'm just going to go ahead and give Jay the benefit and give him 5 stars.
Okay.
I know he's going to impress me if I go back through it. Again, there's going to be something else I trip over. Be like, Jay, okay.
Mm-hmm. So. And as for me, like I said, it didn't really move the story or the plot or the world ahead, but it was a good read. I give it a 3.
Okay.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, you really like Tool, so if you were
we were just looking for Anna the whole time, and now, well, I guess they found it.
Well, again, the star rating is what you think of the book, not its quality.
Right.
So
yeah.
You see the different things in the book than I do, then hell, rate it a 5.
Okay, so next month we are reading Sky Full of Elephants by Sibo Campbell.
Okay.
And you guys don't like to know about stuff when we go into it. So
no, I already have an idea.
I mean,
yeah, it's looking bad for our kind, to be honest.
There's a blurb on this that says, a debut that dares us to tap into frequencies of freedom. Interesting. But I'm very much looking forward to this. And if you haven't read it, hopefully you will join us. So thank you for joining us today, if you've made it this far, and hopefully we will see you next week. And again, if you ever want to join us on camera to discuss the book, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member at patreon.com/Libri Labra. So have a wonderful weekend, everyone. And for anyone that celebrates, I hope you guys have a good Mother's Day tomorrow. So bye.